Hi Shell and any other weirdo that finds this video, I guess, since I now have a confirmed audience of one. That being said, I'll just continue. Like, I am talking into the void. Don't care if you are listening, Shell. So I thought it'd be nice to do I thought it'd be nice to do the Booktube Newbie Tag since I am a noob to this. And I found this tag through the Gothic Academic channel, and yeah, I enjoyed her video and thought could talk about some books that this probably be the only way I could talk about some of them. But yeah, here we go. And my battery's dead. Why do I always time my battery to... Okay, this never works. So question number one on this tag is, what book got me into reading? Well, I'm gonna pick the book that wasn't required reading. It wasn't the book that I read at childhood. It to encourage me to read, because I remember skimming the books everybody else was reading and saying I read them because I kind of wanted to one up an older sibling, that I could do something better than what he could, and I was just like, yeah, I'm a quicker reader than you. I wasn't actually reading, so it doesn't count. It does not count. So I can't say anything other than the book I read from my secondary school library when I was 11. It was The Cat Mummy by Jacqueline Wilson. I do not have a copy of this. I might get one just to give to my niece, because I don't know, it seems pretty personal gift that this book got me into reading, and she might like it. But it's also very sad because it's about a girl whose cat passes away, and it's about her grief and dealing with it. She doesn't even tell her parents, or her, I think it's she lives with her grandparents, but she's just not dealing with it. She decides to mummify her cat who's passed away. Oh, but it's Jacqueline Wilson. She tackles grief in a little girl beautifully, and I was just astounded when I was reading it. I cried so much. Even if this book wasn't directed at my age, it was directed to younger, I still loved it. And I went on to read Midnight by her, and yeah, it got me into the passion of reading and I loved it. And so I can say Jacqueline Wilson got me into reading. Brilliant role model to have. Thank God it was Jacqueline Wilson. Considering other authors for children have people cringing right now. And I do want to pick up more Jacqueline Wilson children's books, just because I'm just intrigued by maybe returning to the author who got me back into reading. Well, got me into reading, not back into reading. Okay, so second question, lunch and 2 episodes of One Piece later. Second question. What genre do I read the most? And that would definitely be sci-fi fantasy, hands down. There is something about sci-fi fantasy, especially sci-fi, that explores very weird ideas. And who doesn't love dragons? So, of course, that's going to be my first grab. What genre do I read the least? Romance. Just don't care for it. Don't even like it in what I read. And yeah, it's what I hated when I was reading Throne of Glass series. I know Sarah J Maas can really write the good horror, good lore in that world, good world building in that world. I enjoyed the magic system, but my God, she was more interested in writing the romance, and I just no. It's like 2 pages on a really well written horror element, and then 10 pages of 2 love interests of two people just and you can tell who's meant to be the hooking up. Yeah, I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't. Romance is not my jam. Romance is not my genre at all. I'm quite like Council of Geeks, Vera, in a way that I don't care for it, and when I do, it's very rare. What is the book I tell everyone is my favourite? I don't think I have a favourite. I don't talk about my favourite. I don't actually talk to people about books besides one or two people, and very rarely do I do, but I don't seem to. I just more like talk about the book I'm currently reading versus what I have read, but I don't really say favourite. I don't pick favourites. It's like picking a favourite colour. The rainbow is good. The rainbow is great. What is the book I have reread the most? Now, this is one where I actually can hold up a book. Raven's Gate. I have reread this the most because I think it was just the amount of times I had to. I think the first time I decided to tell my friend about it, so I reread it whilst we were reading it together. Well, she was reading quicker than me, so I shall. And yeah, so I reread this quite a bit, and I do believe the reasons why I reread it is because it's a 5-book series, and I think I've completely forgot what happened in book 2 and 3 when I was trying to continue on with the series, because the final book didn't come out until like a few years after I started reading it, and I was just like, I need to remind myself what was going on. And I thought, reread the whole thing, because I remembered what happened in this one but not in the other two. Like, I know what happened in the second one, but I can't remember how they defeated or got around certain things. How did they get there again? So it was just the details I wanted to remind myself on for that one, but the third one I remember not much about. So I ended up rereading this one quite a bit, and I think it's the only book I have reread. Yeah, I have not reread a book besides the books to continue with the series. What is a book everyone else loved but you didn't? This might be controversial. What can I say? The Night Circus. Yeah. I kind of get the atmospheric. I kind of get when people talk about the atmospheric vibes from it. I think what annoyed me was the romance element of it, like what got them together in like her best friend or her very good friend got shot. There is blood on her dress, and she goes to the guy who she's competing with and has sex. I know grief makes people do dumb things, but that is not romantic. Do not peg it as romantic. No. So certain lines I just don't like. And grieve in a different way, please. Yeah. I didn't quite see what everyone else was going on about. I didn't quite feel in the circus. It was, I don't know, I've kept it because I do want to give it another go, but other than that, yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as everybody else was hyping about it, so yeah, that was a book that deserved the hype. Now this one is a no-brainer. Hunger Games. This one I read just before the movies. I actually had my eye on it before there was movies announced, because back before the internet we had library catalogues, and I saw it in the library catalogue and I wanted it, but because I was in secondary school and however old I was, I didn't have my own money, so trying to save up my pocket money was very impossible, but I wanted it, and I like how the copy I currently have says soon to be a motion picture. I don't actually have the copy that I had because I kind of got rid of it because I was getting a little annoyed at fandoms at the time. But the reason why it deserves the hype, not because well, I suppose it has something for everybody really, because the fandoms got their romance thing that I didn't really care for, and what I was there for was the amazing plot of just breaking down the system and how the system has been constructed, and just how a revolution has formed. And yeah, it was incredible. I like the politics to it. Even back then I could appreciate it for being really, really good. So I think it does deserve all of the hype. I do really like The Hunger Games. I remember reading them. I recently read the prequel. I really do think it deserves the hype. I enjoyed all 4 books. A book I read the fastest, that would be Girl on the Train. No particular reason. I enjoyed the book, I enjoyed the plot. It was a very interesting look into abuse. I didn't see it coming until like just before it started getting explained. The only reason why I read that the quickest is because I challenged myself and I had the motivation to read around 100 pages a day, and I tried to keep it going. I actually read it within a few days. It was the quickest I've read a book. I think before that my record was 8 days. I read slowly, so a few days on a book was like peak. I did not expect to get it actually consistent within 2 weeks. I think I was doing that for like 2 weeks, but I had the motivation, and yeah, I'm trying to bring that motivation back, but it's just I get distracted by YouTube. A book I think deserves more hype. I think because the Hunger Games got such a big renown, I think a book that can get more hype would probably be The Wind Singer. It's a trilogy, and I keep seeing it in charity shops. But yeah, I don't see many people talking about it at all. But yeah, it kind of breaks down meritocracies and how stupid meritocracies can get, because it even kind of shows it down on the bin men scale, just briefly. But it's just in order to progress you have to get better, and in terms of like practical things like bin men, they have to do that through, you've got to collect more rubbish. But when everybody's picking up after themselves, it's not viable. It's not going to work. How are they supposed to progress when people are looking after the environment? It's kind of stupid. And then it goes into, no, my dad is smart, he just can't do well on tests because it's a test. And it does break that down, and it does have that discussion on it. And it says, if you like Star Wars, and I think the only reason it compares it to Star Wars is because there's twins, they have like certain telepathic powers. I know they had said telekinesis. Telepathic powers. I think telekinesis might be a player. It's been a minute since I read it, but it definitely needs more hype because it does break down a lot of political systems, and there's even a Mortal Engines like reference in there, because when they get out of their meritocracy city, there's like these moving cities, and the politics of how these two cities are like against each other hilariously, but also to the detriment of like common sense. And throughout that, there's this big bad, like the Eye of Sauron kind of big bad, but the biggest evil would be the guy in charge of the meritocracy city. And the old children are creepy as heck. Just saying, needs more hype. Also, what is it with turning Dalmatian names into swear words? I have no idea why Pongo is a swear word now. I know it's a children's book and you can't actually say it's swear words, but Dalmatians? Really? A book I usually recommend. I don't really talk to people about books that often, so I've only ever recommended a book once. And it was Murderbot, because the guy who I was like recommending it to doesn't read, and I was just like, right, this is short, it's funny, you might like it. It's also got quite a bit of action in it, so I do recommend Murderbot because it's so freaking good. It's so good, it's funny, classic in the making. If I were to keep recommending books, I would probably keep recommending Murderbot because it is short, and that's what puts people off, is length of books. So I would recommend the short and sweet ones. So, and this is awesome, and I will recommend it over and over again. A book I thought I would have hated. Listen, if I think I'm going to hate something, I'm just not going to pick it up. There's no point. No point whatsoever. I don't think I've tried to pick up a book I thought I would hate. I mean, I've picked up books from curiosity and hated, but I don't think I would pick up a book if I'm going to hate it. I just don't bother with it, because you would rather read what you know you're going to enjoy, or what you think you might enjoy, not. You can't just hate read. That's not fun. A book that made me cry. I just have to look to either of my Frederick Backman books. But I'm going to have to land on Anxious People, because I kind of felt like this one, it made me cry more than A Man Called Ove, because even though it was very personal of a story, and it does like remind me of my own family members, A Man Called Ove was beautiful, like beautifully written, beautifully handled. But I think Anxious People hit a different kind of. I think I was sobbing, like ugly sobbing. I had to put the book down type of crying, and I was not expecting it either. A book I wish I could read again for the first time. Honestly, I don't think I've got an answer to that one. I really don't. Mainly because I'm still such, like, I'm not well read. I'm only actively trying to. And so I haven't got that many books on my radar. But if I were to reword this, if I were to forget a book so that I don't remember how bad it was, I would probably either pick... What would I pick? I haven't got a clue because I don't keep them anymore, so I can't really throw a word to it. So yeah, I don't have an answer for this particular one because I don't reread as often, because I only have the one book I've reread. So yeah, I think I'll be alright not caring about that one. Yeah. Although I am terrified of reading Lord of the Rings. I've only just read The Hobbit recently, because the first time of reading Lord of the Rings is just so scary to me. that I'm just putting it off. Oh, but I think I wouldn't want to redo my first read through. I don't think I want to wish that upon myself. A book that has my favourite characters. Do I even pick a favourite character? Probably not, but I think the closest I've ever gotten to picking a favourite character will probably be Pinto from Slaves of the Mastery, which is the Windsinger's sequel. And I don't know why, because she could be an annoying child, but I freaking love her. And I think the reason why it sticks out in my brain is because it kind of ended on, like, a chapter ended on a cliffhanger where I thought she was going to be harmed. And I had to put the book down and get back to work because my break was over. And it was just like, this is not working. I need to keep reading. But it just, I'm pretty sure that might be why it sticks out in my head more than the other characters do. My other potential favourite character would be Murderbot. A world I wish I could live in. This one took a bit of thought because I would definitely not want to live in Pan Am. Jeez, no. No. I kind of ended up on Middle Earth. I've not read Lord of the Rings trilogy, but reading The Hobbit, though, it was just as magical as I needed it to be. And I actually have seen the movies of Lord of the Rings, so if I could live in that world, yeah, I would love to live in Middle Earth. Magical. A book that everyone should read. This seems like a bit of a cop-out, but Animal Farm, I suppose there is a reason why this ends up on a lot of people's recommendation list, because it is, like, politically relevant all the damn time. I mean, I would say don't be one of the pigs, but honestly, don't be a donkey. They know what's going on. They know what is going on, but they don't bother lifting a finger because it doesn't affect them. Don't be the donkey. Don't be the donkey. Let people have the information that they need. And, oh my god, I still can't get over Boxer. I still cry at Boxer. That's another book that made me cry. It has left me shook. I listened to it on audio, but yeah. But honestly, if I were to encourage everybody to read a book, it would be a book, just any book, as long as you're enjoying it. But everybody should try to read Animal Farm. It's so relevant to how politics get run. A book that would make a great movie. Now, I had to try and cancel out every book that has already got an adaptation just to make things a little bit easier, but it just made it harder. But I think I'm going to revert back to Power of the Five. So I think this 5-book series would make a great adaptation. It's got a diverse cast of characters. They go across the world and cool powers. Releasing books that big and then ending on Horowitz is mad. Like, seriously, there's like 50 odd chapters. 56 chapters? But it's an epic. It is a teenage story epic, and I think it would really benefit from more hype, more an adaptation, just to get people into reading at a teenage level. And I think it would make a great adaptation if given the resources to do so. And, you know, make it a passion project, not the cash grabby adaptations that we keep saying. But, you know, well, I think it would be better to do it as a series, because I think the first one would make a good horror series, and then it kind of switches tone to an action series, and then in the third one it's kind of like a espionage one, because there's a secret organization that you just like trying to get around. And in the fourth one, how do I describe the fourth one? It could be easily tweaked to make it not egregious with its stereotyping. It could be brilliant. It could even surpass the source material, because if it's done with sensitivity readers attached to the script, it would be brilliant. It ends quite nicely, actually. I had to rush reading the end because somebody wanted it back. A book you wish everyone would try to read. Honestly, I think I just want people to read whatever they want. But I'll go Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because it's hilarious. And because I read this earlier this year, like the first book I read of the year, and I kept quoting it out loud when there's nobody around. I just stopped reading, went back and reread what I just read, but out loud, because it's so good. I know it's already high up there. I know it's already like well read, but if I were to recommend everybody trying to read it, it would be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. It's just absurd. People should read more absurdism. just because we all need a bit more absurdity. Just, you know, it helps with escapism. What can I say? We need a bit more escapism, and absurdity is, yeah. It also, absurdism is really good at deconstructing the norms, because of what we think is normal is not normal for another person. And I think that is actually quite a good conversation to have, especially when Arthur Dent is just lost in this massive scope of a universe. Last question is kind of an anticlimactic one, because I don't think I've got an answer to. A book I'll never forget. Now, I'm not well read yet. I'm far from it. That meant that I'm able to remember all the books I've currently read. It's not a lot. However, I did actually, when I was looking through the books on my read shelf, wondering why there is a book there that I'm pretty sure I hadn't read. And then I had to look on Goodreads to see that I have actually read it. And it's just this one. I genuinely forgot that I read it. This is the only book I've forgotten I read. I had to flick through and go, oh yeah, I did read it. But yeah, I haven't got to a point where I'm forgetting books. But honestly, I don't think I'll forget a lot of what I read. I think I've got some time before I'm there. So I can't really answer that one. But I did forget this one book though. I think just because it's advice and stuff, so yeah. That is a stack of books I put to one side to answer this tag of questions. Also, yes, it is November that I'm filming this in. I'm warm. I can wear no sleeves. Although this is quite nice and warm. It's bananas. It's kind of like hair hugs. I do believe my next video is going to be covering all of the books I've read this year. So, and what I want to do for the next year, I think I'm setting myself a few goals. Anywho, that was the Booktube Newbie Tag, or me trying to answer the questions on here. hope you enjoyed this random tag and my random answers, or my random ramblings about certain things on here, on this list of questions. But I guess that's it. Bye.